What up, guys? This is Crossfade. I'm doing a deck profile for you on my winning list of Shoto Todoroki 1 off of Chaos. I played this in our my semi-local provisional that I have. It's about a 45-minute drive or anything. I played it last Sunday. I took first place with it. Um, it was actually it performed really well, and against one of the decks that I was pretty sure I was going to lose to. I was surprised that it did. It pulled it out, but I don't want to waste too much time kind of getting into it. I just want to get right into the deck profile. We're gonna start off with obviously our character Shoto Todoroki 1, Chaos Fire Water. He says, enhance committed foundation. Your attack gets +1 damage for every 2 ranged attacks in your discard pile, and every attack is a ranged attack, so +1 for every 2. And then response commit, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. After you play an enhanced ability on a non-character card, cancel it. In a world right now where like repeated 100% smash is like such a huge thing at the moment, being able to cancel their repeated 100% and make it so they can't ready their stage like by 3 or 4 fold, I think is a big deal at the moment. If these repeated decks keep going around, I think this character actually kind of goes up in value because of how powerful that enhance is. And that's kind of what this character I think has been lacking, is finding like a big game swinging enhance to cancel. And something like that and something like Phantom Threat are both really good options to look for. We'll go into the attack packages first. We have 4 copies of Command Pigeon Flock in the deck. I am playing this with the Ally package. It complements Todoroki very well. This card literally only has 1 enhance on it, and it's to build an Ally Foundation from my discard pile, which, if you don't know which one that is, we'll get into it later. It's also the only high attack in the deck. And you'll notice that there's a lot of lows in this one. We have 4 copies of Giant Ice Wall. I mean, really, it's a breaker 1 block on a high. It's a stun 2. It's a low 3 it's a low attack, and it gives my next thing stun 2. I played a line at my provisional where I played Giant Ice Wall. I gave my next thing stun 2. I stun 2'd them, and then I played Nejire Wave, discarded a momentum to make them commit 3, and then stun 2 them immediately. And that's so they were down 7 foundations by the second attack. I mean, what more needs to be said about Giant Ice Wall? The only new attack in the deck is Nejire Wave. This is now the second mid attack in the deck. There was only one before. But this is a newer one. It says enhance. This attack gets +2 damage for each attack your rival has blocked this turn. And then response, discard 1 momentum. After you play this attack, your rival commits 3 foundations. So oftentimes with this deck, you will play your first move. You will use your Friend of Animals to commit, give it speed and damage. You will then go and get a momentum from Friend of Animals, and then play Nejire Wave as your second move and just make them commit 3 things immediately. So not only are they dealing with all your big giant stats of the first thing you did, where you're probably spending like a 9 damage move with them, but then now you're also playing this one and committing 3 more of their resources. It's very, very good. My list has 3 copies of Freezer Burn. And there's only one reason for this, and that's because I don't own a 4th copy of Twisting Azure Inferno. If I did, the 4th Twisting Azure Inferno would be in the deck instead, and this would be a 2 of. That said, this card's still very, very good. This card gets to stop Airy at the end of a string, so if they're trying to bank on using Airy to live, this card just says no. This also helps fuel your discard pile. This lets you reuse 1 copy of Friend of Animals 3 or 4 times because it just readies it if it's the only thing that you have committed, and there are ways to manage your committed foundations so that it is the only thing. Yeah, this card's just great, and it's a low block, obviously. Twisting Azure Inferno. I don't need to say anything about this card. This card's insane. There's going to be a world where this card probably ends up getting banned, I think. Obviously, because we're our character, we slap a ton of damage on it and activate its ability, and this lets us string out super, super, super long to get these huge OTKs with this deck, which is what I do frequently, actually. We have 3 copies of 1.3 Indiscriminate. This card on its own, without using my Todoroki enhance, can just kill people if I have 2 copies of it. It's kind of always going to be there. We're just not running 4 because we already have a lot of 5 diffs that we're trying to play already. And then to round it out, we have 2 copies of Ice Storm to make 22 attacks. Ice Storm is just back alleys, rejuvenating smashes. We love having our Breaker 2 mid block. But this card also can just kill people because you can get momentum so easily with Friend of Animals. So your powerful 3 can happen really quick, and you can have a surprise 1 or 2 momentum, and now they're taking this 13 plus damage move that they can't block with their attacks, obviously. Let's go over to the foundations. We've got 4 copies of Nejire-chan of the Big 3. I like this one a lot because instead of because now we have Nejire Wave committing out a whole ton of their board, I no longer need Feeling Cute, I think. And I think having the extra damage can go a long way. This comes up a lot when you only have 4 or 5 attacks in your discard pile, but you want to trigger your Twisting Azure Infernos early on. This lets you get to that extra one. Plus, also, this randomly just gets you health. So your squishy character now gets to gain a little bit of life on his offensive turns, and maybe you won't die on the crackback. We have 4 copies of Nice Try. This card's insane. People should already know what this does. Sure, it has enhanced commit -2 speed, but this card says after your rival's combat phase begins, you get to ready this. So this gives you free activations of your Shoto Todoroki 1 to get all that damage, and then on their turn, you just get to ready this up after you've committed it to pay as cost. We have 4 copies of Friend of Animals. It's again one of the other reasons that we're playing Chaos specifically. This is giving all of our moves 2 speed when we use our enhance on Todoroki. So not only are we giving it 4 or 5 damage, we're also adding on an extra 2 speed on top of that. And if you couple this with the questing assistance or freezer burns or the really cool plays of like enhance, give your thing 2 speed on command pigeon flock, blow up your Friend of Animals, rebuild it back in, you can get 4 6 speed out of this card in an entire turn, and that's usually too much for people to deal with. We have 4 copies of Struggling with Studies. We have hand size problems, obviously, sometimes. We want to be able to keep replaying our card. We want to have a lot of cards in hand, so being able to buy back our foundations or whatever we're using, our breaker 2 blocks or whatever. Struggling lets us go ahead and extend our hand into our card pool for a bit. 4 copies of Release. I think this card, again, we don't have a ton of defense on Chaos. This card pulls heavy duty in this deck. And this card lets you live. I kind of did 3 for a while, but this card just helps you live so easily. And we just went up to the 4th. 4 copies of Encouraging Trading Partner. There's no big speed hate that Chaos has either right now. And Encouraging means that we can take all these big insanely fast moves like all these like Giro decks and everything and just swap them back down to 4 speed, and then we can use like Release to be able to get +2 to the check, and now we're effectively looking for like 6s at that point, and that's very easy to do. This card was at like a 2 of and everything or 3, but like it's so good. And this card also plays offense really well. If your opponent's trying to neg the speed of your move, you just put it back up to 4, and now suddenly they have to re-deal with how fast this move is possibly. And then to round it out, we have 4 copies of Requesting Assistance. We get momentum so easily in this deck. This card always is live pretty much to say enhance, flip, ready a thing. Obviously, Friend of Animals is like one of the best ones to choose because you get to reuse it again for your next move. So now it's gotten 2 speed twice. I used to run Decoy Duplicate, but now we run 3 copies of Broken Psyche. This card means that we're not getting rid of the card from their card pool anymore, so we don't clear their progressive, and we don't give them a card to draw. This just says flat out change its damage to 2. Which, again, our character, when we build Friend of Animals Broken Psyche on turn 1 and have a command pigeon flock in our discard pile, like you feel so safe at that point. They have a lot of extra work to do to get through that. And this also means we're not removing our foundation anymore, we're just flipping it, so we don't lose out on 2 resources now if we have to Friend of Animals and Broken Psyche to live. Before we had to get rid of Friend of Animals, and then we had to get rid of Decoy Duplicate, but now we're only flipping our Broken Psyche, so we get to still keep one of our resources. I have 3 copies of Master's Pride. This makes the 9th, 10th, and 11th 0 diff in the deck. This card says that we get to double up on our foundations with this. We get to commit these out during our first set of attacks, and then when we get to use Friend of Animals to snap into momentum, we get to ready these up, so it just helps extend our turns. I have 3 copies of Frozen. We're really kind of going heavy into being able to lock them all down. Since we don't have a whole ton of ways to pump our speed, we want to retroactively pump our speed, and that's by committing all of their foundations. And they have no foundations, and they can't block, especially when they have -1 to the check from Twisting Azure Inferno. At the 2 ofs, I've got 2 copies of Surge. I'm still not 100% sold on this card. This does randomly give my 1.3 million volts EX2, which obviously is really good. It's also a +1 mid block, which I think actually kind of it comes in handy more for that than anything else. And it randomly just says enhance, commit, give your things some more speed and all. But it's definitely the flex spot you can change anything for. I have 2 copies of the big 3 in this deck, and this is actually because I don't have 4 copies of Chivalrous Competitor. But in more playtesting, I think I might keep it at 2 copies of big 3, 2 copies of Chivalrous, and just split the difference, because this card says Deadlock, +1 speed, change my zone. And so just providing more Deadlock threats for a deck that already wants to go super long seems very good. Again, I have 2 copies of Chivalrous Competitor because it's just a very good card. It's a spam low block, and it sometimes helps against destroy stuff. You can run this at 4 if you want to, but I just don't have 4 copies of it. I have 2 copies of Successful Results. This is another ally foundation that we can build if we randomly just don't have Friend of Animals in our discard pile. This also helps out, again, with Deadlock stuff. It's to push your board, give you free momentum. And then I have 1 copy of Irrefutable Force in Nature. This was at 2, but I don't see Earth, Fire, and Water decks being super crazy prevalent right now. It's kind of about like the life decks and everything at the moment. Life and good are like kind of the 2 primary ones, and this doesn't hit the things meaningful in my opinion, at least right now. And that's it for the deck list. This is a 68 card deck. For the sideboard, I'll go over really quick. We have a 4th copy of Ice Storm. We have a copy of Midnight for like the Eraserhead matchups. I have 1 copy of Recovery Time for like the discard decks, and this comes in against like your back alleys and your Rejuvenating Smash decks. I only have 1 copy of Hold Hostage. Again, I only own 1 copy of this card. This could go up to 2. I bring this against like a lot of 5-handers. You bring this in against like 4th kind, and you can stop their 1.3 volts that they're trying to save for the end of the turn. 2 Self-Assured, because this card works really well against Mirio. 2 Ana Voices, which are supposed to be 2 copies of Concentrate. I just don't have that card. But Ana Voice works well because it can stop throw decks that are putting on a bunch of damage onto their throws. And then I've got 2 copies of Pass-Through Walls because it works well against like the Eraserhead decks, like have a bunch of breakers, but this also gets to be used against Mimic and stop his abilities on an asset as well. And yeah, that's it for the deck. We're playing in the provisional for Unfun Stuff. Hopefully we can add a second win to the repertoire. But yeah, if you guys like the deck profile and everything, be sure to let me know. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Y'all be good.